Hi friends, welcome to another Money Witch YouTube video. Today we're going to talk about one of the steps involved in getting your finances organized for the year end, new year beginning, right? Making this video in November 2016. If you run a small business, which means you're a sole proprietor, or you're an LLC, or you're an S Corp, your partnership, or if you're nothing, you feel like you're not anything, that means you're a sole proprietor. If you're an independent contractor, you're also a sole proprietor. So if you fall in any of those categories and you're trying to get organized for year end, one of the things that you're going to need to get organized, and it's actually the deadline that's going to come the soonest once 2017 rolls around, and that is getting your 1099 forms together. So a 1099 form is a form basically that you send directly to the IRS, telling them how much money you paid out to other people to work for you as independent contractors for the year. So that means anyone that you paid out money to that you did not have on an official payroll system. And the threshold for filing a 1099 is $600. So if you are a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S Corp, an independent contractor, nothing but making money on your own, aka you are a sole proprietor, and you paid anyone else $600 or more in the course of the business year, from January to December, then you need to issue a 1099 form. So we usually say you need to issue them a 1099 form, but really you're issuing the IRS a 1099 form and you're giving this person a copy of it so that they know that you did that and as a courtesy to them to do their taxes. So I've heard a lot of different myths about 1099s from clients, that if you sell products, you have to 1099 people, but if you are service only, you don't. That if you're an independent contractor, you don't have to do it, only if you have a business license, that officially makes you a sole proprietor. All these things are not true. Basically, if you are making money and that money is not coming through any sort of job where you're going to get a W-2 where you are on payroll, then you are a small business owner. So if you have a side hustle, you're a small business owner. If you're, making money in any kind of significant way, whether or not you have an official business license, you are a sole proprietor. So if in the course of doing that, you paid anyone else $600 or more, then you need to issue 1099 forms. And the deadline for that, for this tax year, 2016 tax year, is January 31st, 2017. So it's going to come way before you have to think about getting your taxes in. And that is because people need to get their 1099s. People need to get copies of their 1099s in order to start preparing their own tax returns, right? So it's respectful to the people who did the work for you to get the forms in on time so that they can have accurate forms for their own records and they can move forward with their own individual, etc. taxes. So basically, if anyone did more than $600 of work for you, and that might look like a number of things, right? Maybe you have a product business making tinctures and someone comes in and bottles and labels them for you. Maybe you hired a graphic designer over the course of the year to do some label design, some business card design, some web design, and you paid them more than $600 over the course of the year. Maybe you have a virtual assistant, and you paid them more than $600 over the course of the year. Maybe somebody came in to work for you for trade shows. or maybe somebody came in to help you take care of some of your client work, take some of your client load off, whatever it is you do. Like if you're a dog walker, for example, you run a dog walking company, somebody else comes in and does some of your work for you, then technically, legally, you're required to issue them a 1099 form, or you're required to issue a 1099 form to the IRS on that person's behalf. So 1099 forms really are asking you basically to be a reporter, right? To be a little bit of a, there's a lot of words I could use right now, but basically to let the IRS know that you paid this person money so that they do not participate in tax evasion. So there's that aspect of it, but the most important thing that you need to know is when you're a sole proprietor, especially on your tax form, on your Schedule C, there's a little box and it says, if you were required to issue 1099s this year, did you do it or are you going to? And you have to check yes or no. So if you legally were required to issue 1099s and you don't do it and you check no on that box, if for some reason you got busted, it it puts you at much higher risk, right? Because putting the wrong numbers on your return or like claiming expenses that ultimately the IRS finds to be like, that's not really a business expense, things like that, those are not things that are going to flag you for basically criminal intent with the IRS. But participating in tax evasion, aiding and abetting in tax evasion, which is basically what not 1099ing someone is like, it's a criminal offense. So, in order to legally protect yourself, I would say 1099 folks. I would also say moving into a new year that let people know at the beginning of the year, you know, if you are going to be paying them as the 1099 contractor and they're going to have to pay taxes on it, self-employment taxes on it, then they should know that from the jump of the relationship. And you should basically be paying them a number that they feel comfortable with having to pay that level of taxes. So even for 2016, if there's people that if you didn't talk to anyone about it, I would say go back now and contact those people, anyone you paid more than $600 to in the year, and have a conversation with them and say, you know, that you need to do this to legally protect yourself. So in order to file a 1099 form, we are going to have the person we paid the money to fill out a form called a W-9. So I hear people use that term like, I have W-9s. I filled out a not even I filled out a W-9, but I did a W-9 for this place, or they're going to give me a W-9. That's not how it works. So whoever does the work and gets paid fills out the 1099 in order to receive, or fills out the W-9 in order to receive a 1099. So whoever does the work is going to fill out the W-9 form. I'm going to put the link to it in the notes for this video. So you basically send that to all your people who need to give you their tax information, and what you're going to get from them is their full legal name, their address, and an identification number, a tax identification number. So that's going to be a social security number, or it's going to be an EIN, which is an employer ID number. If you are going to be issuing a lot of 1099s, you're running a small business, it might be, or if you do a lot of independent contractor work, like say you're the graphic designer, right? You're the graphic designer and you're going to get 1099 by a lot of people. You're going to be filling out a lot of W-9s. It is potentially a good idea to go ahead and apply to the IRS to get an EIN, to get an employer identification number, so that you do not have to give out your social security number over and over and have your social security number out there on a number of forms, right? I mean, ideally people are using secure systems, but the world's a crazy place, man. So having an EIN basically gives you one step of removal from having to put your social security number out on a lot of forms or just give it out to people, right? So when you issue those 1099s, if you're the person who runs the business, you're the small business owner, you're the sole proprietor, etc. You're the person with the side hustle. When you issue that 1099, you also have to put your tax identification number. So if you don't have an EIN, you're gonna have to put your social security number. Again, not the end of the world at all. It's not like super dangerous, but it's a gamble, it is a risk, and at the end of the day, I haven't done it. I need to, but I would say it's worth. I've heard it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to fill out the application, and I'm going to put a link to that application. And so I would just say go ahead and do it. Go ahead and if you're going to be running a small business, if you're going to be doing this side hustle on a continuous basis, I would go ahead and get the EIN so that you are at less risk when you're dealing with tax documents at the end of the year. Okay, so you're going to send this W-9 form or give it in person to everyone who's doing this work for you. You're going to have them fill it out. You're going to get it back from them, and you're going to start out on a good foot next year, right? Or even from the end of this year. Anyone who's coming in to do work for you, like you hire a graphic designer or something like that, somebody comes and works for you for an event or a number of events where they're going to make $600 and more. You're like, here, I need you to fill out this form before I issue payment, basically. So you've got it in your files and you're ready to go at the end of the year so that at the beginning of January, you're not emailing 8 people trying to get their name, social security number, address, and all that so that you can make your deadline on time and that you don't get fined by the IRS. Okay, so that's best practice. So best practice, somebody's going to do some work for you. You're going to have them fill out this W-9 form. So you're going to be ready to do your 1099s at the beginning of the next year. Okay, so once we've got that information gathered, in January, at the very beginning of January, because remember I said the deadline to have these forms either electronically filed or postmarked to the IRS and copies to the recipients is January 31st, right? And we're not pushing things to the last minute. So first week of January, we basically need to be getting these numbers together. We do want to wait until that time so we can be 100% sure that all the money we paid out to everyone in 2016 or in whatever tax year we're talking about is going to be, it's all going to be done, right? We're going to know like what really happened so that we can get the actual real numbers together. So January 1st, ideally, we're going to get all of those books are going to be cleaned up. So one thing I want to say, and I'm going to make a future video about this, is that means now getting all your books cleaned up to now, having all your numbers cleaned up to now, so that all you have to do in January is not all of 2016 books. It's not printing out all those bank statements and figuring it all out and how much did you pay people and going back through your checkbooks and, going to the bank in a state of crisis, right? We're reducing that state of crisis. We're saying there are little steps we can put in place to reduce that crisis and money being a crisis in our life, right? So that means up to now, getting our books cleaned up through October. And then that means in December, we get November organized. And in the first week of January, we get December organized. And then we have these final numbers and we're ready to go. And it means we're putting out those feelers now to get those W-9s from people because folks are about to get busy, right? People who do Thanksgiving do that thing. They get busy. People travel. Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever folks are doing, people just get busy, they get distracted. There's a lot of stuff going on, and getting a hold of people can be hard. So let's start reaching out to people now to get those W-9s and get our books organized so far, like year to date up to now, so that in January, we've only got to clean up a couple of books. This goes double, triple time if you are a maker or you work in retail and you are about to get face numbingly busy. You're already face numbingly busy. That means get it cleaned up now so that you don't come off of that and be in that post holiday season hangover and get hit with like, fuck, I've got to get this together right now, like the whole year of bookkeeping or the whole year of numbers, or now I have to get a hold of people ASAP, right? Reducing that crisis mentality or that crisis pressure that could create that feeling in your life. Okay, so in January, first week of January, you're getting November, December, cleans up and tight. We're going to have a list of all of the people who we paid money to this year. We're going to see anyone we paid more than $600 to, and we're going to get ready and we're going to file those 1099 forms. So there's basically 3 ways you could go about doing this. One is that you can fill them out by hand. You cannot print a 1099 form off of the IRS website. Most tax forms you can, but this is a special form. It's carbon copy. So if you need them, you need to order them from the IRS right now, or I think you can get them. There's like a little tax form display at like Office Depot, Office Max, those type of places this time of year. Hit up your small office supply store if that still exists near you. And basically you can get them where you can just fill it all out by hand. So that's one option. And if you do that, you're going to fill out one 1099 form for each person who worked for you, each contractor, independent contractor. And then you have to fill out another form that's basically like a cover form that says your information and how many of them you're submitting. And remember that if that's going to be happening by mail, it's all going to be postmarked way before, let's just say before January 31st, right? To the IRS and to these individual people. So you're going to be required to send that to the IRS, and you're going to be required to send it to all the individual people that you are filing the form in their name, okay? And the second option is that there's a number of services you can work with to e-file. If you Google like e-file 1099 or something like that, you would be able to find a number of resources in order to do your own e-filing online the same way, for a fee, the same way that you do like TurboTax, Tax Act, that kind of stuff, right? So it'll be that kind of service. And you will put in the information and they're going to send it to the IRS, they're going to send the summary form, and they're going to send a copy to each of your recipients. You might want to also get your recipients' email so that you could send them PDF copies. The third option is that you can have your bookkeeper or accountant do it. So you can hire whoever. You can hire me to do it. You can hire whoever to do it. Most people have either your bookkeeper is working for hourly, or there's a small fee to do the filing, etc. So in January, I'll put a call out for anyone who needs to file those 1099s, and I'll know because you watched this video that you're gonna have all of your information totally organized. You're gonna know who, you're gonna have their W-9 form already filled out and sent back to you. You're gonna have their email address. You're gonna know exactly how much you paid them, how many forms you need to file, and potentially you might even have your employer identification number so that we don't have to put your social security number all out there. So that's about it for 1099s. If you have questions, you can always put them in the comments below. You can holler at me via my website, healyourfinances.com. You can contact me off that as well. Find me on Instagram at money.witch. And that's it. I'm the Money Witch, and it was great talking to you. I hope that this is helpful, and I'm so proud of you for getting all your stuff done by the end of the year. Yeah. Woo!